just to say hello to them, ask them how they are, and perhaps even strike a conversation with them. This is very important. So respect and honor shown to our neighbors. Secondly, we can definitely provide them with support and help. So again, just like with our family members, they will often be the first ones that come to our aid when we are in need of help and support. Remember the statement that neighborhood is kinship. So applying this to support and help, it tells us therefore that just like our family members would do that for us, we should be foremost in providing help and support to our neighbors. Let's say a neighbor of ours is unwell, or a neighbor of ours is elderly. Then we can certainly offer to do things for them. Perhaps they need a prescription picking up, or some groceries purchased. We can certainly offer to help them in this regard. Thirdly, kindness and compassion. Again, just like we are expected to show kindness and compassion to our family members, so too we should do the same with our neighbors. An example here would be, let's say one of our neighbors has recently given birth. So what we could do is offer to provide them with a home-cooked meal. Or let's say they have experienced a loss in their family. Somebody has passed away. Just like we would do with our family members, let's reach out to them and offer them some support, either in terms of a meal or simply a kind word, that they know they are not alone and they have people who are actually concerned about them. And the fourth example is to avoid conflict. Of course, when we are living with neighbors, from time to time, things will come up which cause disagreement, which cause perhaps a little bit of disharmony. Well, what do we do with our family members? When such disagreements and disharmony comes up, we deal with them in a calm, respectful, and considerate manner. So too we should deal with our neighbors. If, let's say, there's a dispute over a boundary or noise levels, well, we should not engage in any type of altercation with them. Rather, we should offer them the chance to have a meeting, to discuss things calmly, rationally, and with compassion. And the fifth and final way that we can follow in the footsteps of this great saying of Sayyidul Shuhada, that the neighborhood is kinship, is to engage in things that will help socially. Our social responsibilities towards our neighbors are of the utmost importance as well. A few examples here would be things like taking part in neighborhood cleanup drives. So often neighborhoods will get together and they will arrange a time and a place where they will go out and clean up voluntarily. So we should definitely engage in activities like that, or attending local community meetings so that we create a sense of unity and shared responsibility with the neighbors. It should not be as if we are somehow separate and aloof from them and they are doing all the work to keep the neighborhood tidy and safe and secure and a pleasant place to live. So inshallah, this beautiful saying from Sayyid al-Shuhada will inshallah manifest in the akhirah in the best possible manner. What do we read in the dua of after the Maghrib prayers? وَجَوَارِ نَبِيِّكَ مُحَمَّدْ وَآلِهِ وَعَلَيْهِ السَّلَامُ اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to place us in the neighborhood, in the vicinity of the Blessed Prophet and his progeny. So just as in this dua we ask for that in the akhirah, we can definitely prepare the grounds for that to be manifested in that other realm by following in this beautiful piece of advice from Sayyidul Shuhada. I'll now move on to a few traditions that tell us the importance of having good neighborliness. The Blessed Prophet Rasulul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, puts it in such a beautiful way. He mentions something that is very positive if we have that good neighborly manners, and then he mentions something which is very detrimental if we don't have good neighborly manners. The positive statement from him is that if a person who dies has 3 neighbors who were happy with him, his sins will be forgiven. As for the negative aspect, the flip side of it, he says, he has no faith in me who sleeps with a full stomach while his neighbor is hungry. He has no faith in me, the Blessed Prophet says. So this just goes to show the importance of good neighborliness. Now, with regard to this, it reminded me of a very interesting incident that took place with regard to this very renowned faqih, Sayyid Jawad Amuli. He's the author of Miftahul Karama. And one day he was having his meal. All of a sudden he hears a knock on the door. He opens the door. It's actually the servant of his teacher, Sayyid Mahdi Bahrul Ulum. This servant says to Sayyid Jawad that my teacher, my master, Sayyid Mahdi Bahrul Ulum, would like you to go to his house. So Sayyid Jawad, of course, goes to his teacher's house with the servant. As soon as his teacher sees him, he says to him, "Don't you fear God?" Now, Sayyid Jawad, of course, is surprised at this statement. He says, "Why? What happened? What have I done?" He says to him that you eat your full at home while your neighbor for the last 7 days has only been able to get dates from the shopkeeper, and even that on loan. And this shopkeeper is now so fed up with him that he has stopped giving him these dates. So now, of course, Sayyid Jawad was a very pious person. He just didn't know that his neighbor was in this situation. So he tells his teacher this, that, "Well, I really didn't know about this." His teacher, Sayyid Bahrul Ulum, says to him, "Well, this is the problem. I am disappointed in you because you didn't ask about your neighbor. If you had have asked and tried to find out, you'd have known." And so then his teacher tells him that, "Look, let's resolve the situation like this." And there's tremendous lessons in this incident for us to learn from. He says, "Take these containers of food with my servant, go to that neighbor's house, and offer to eat your meal with him with this food that are in these containers that he's providing. Also, take this bag of money and very discreetly, when he's not looking, put it under his mat." So this is what Sayyid Jawad does. He goes with Sayyid Bahrul Ulum's servant with the food and the money. He has the meal with that neighbor who was so hungry. And then very discreetly, without his neighbor knowing, he puts the pouch of money under the neighbor's mat. Now, there's a few important lessons that we can derive from this. First of all, actively and consciously seeking out our neighbor's needs. Are they in problem or not? Asking about them, being proactive about this, not just holding back and perhaps we might hear something or perhaps we might see something, but really taking proactive steps to find out what is happening with our neighbors. If they're in need, then making the efforts to try and help them in those ways that I mentioned earlier. Another thing is that we can certainly deal with any types of problems that they are facing very respectfully, in a way that they don't feel embarrassed. What did Sayyid Bahrul Ulum tell him to do with the pouch of money? To secretly put it under the mat, so that he would not have to face the embarrassment or shame of accepting it from Sayyid Jawad directly. This is another very important point, that when we are helping out people, our neighbors or whoever it might be, we have to do it in a way that we don't embarrass the other side, and we treat them with the highest level of respect and honor. And the third thing that I personally got from this story was that it doesn't matter who is actually doing the helping. Because who was it that provided that food and the money? It was the teacher of Sayyid Jawad, right? Sayyid Bahrul Ulum. And yet, it was Sayyid Jawad who acted as that intermediary, and for all that neighbor knew, it was all from Sayyid Jawad himself. But Sayyid Bahrul Ulum, for him, this great pious, learned person, it didn't matter. Whether it's his student or himself or someone else. It didn't matter who did the good deed. The main thing was the deed be done. And so this is exactly what happened. And alhamdulillah, these are the types of great scholars that we can certainly benefit from and learn a lot, because they know how to put these teachings from our great imams into practice. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Some water, please. And perhaps this question has come into your minds that, well, we're living in an area that the majority of people, our neighbors, are not even Muslims. Right? Then what do? Do we still have a duty or not? Let me just read out this hadith and then the answer will be clear. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, is reported to have said to none other than Amirul Mu'mineen salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, Ya Ali, akrimil jar walau kana kafira. O Ali, respect the neighbor even if he is a non-believer. Respecting neighbors applies to all neighbors. It doesn't matter if they are believers or not. Now, just in terms of some of the questions that often arise with regards to this topic, for example, how wide is one's neighborhood? How far do we go? Is it just around here, for example, a few buildings this way, that way, a few blocks, the whole of Kitchener, right? How far do you go? For this, our blessed Mawla Amirul Mu'mineen, salawatullah wa salamu alayhi, Muhammad, tells us in a hadith that our neighborhood is as wide as 40 houses in each direction. And I had a look at this actually with my own house. And if you were to place your house in the center of a circle and draw a circumference spanning 40 directions in each way, it actually covers a very large area. So that's our neighborhood in terms of the advice given by our blessed Imam. Allow me to end with a dua from Sahifatul Sajjadiyya, where the blessed Imam Zainul Abidin, salawatullah wa salamu alayhi, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, has a dua about one's neighbors and friends. He says, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, wa zidhum basiratan fi haqqi. Oh Allah, increase my neighbors and friends in insight toward my right. Then what is the result of this? Hatta yas'adu fi wa as'ada bihim. So that they be fortunate through me and I will be fortunate through them. We will, inshallah, enable each other to prosper and benefit and be fortunate by having good neighborliness, inshallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wal asr, innal insana lafi khusr, illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihat, wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين والصلاة والسلام على المصطفى الأمجد والمحمود الأحمد أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعلى علي المرتضى اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعلى فاطمة الزهراء اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعلى الحسن المجتبى اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعلى الحسين الشهيد بكربلاء اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وجل فرجهم وعلى أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة القائم المهدي اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الإمام المنتظر صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين اللهم اجعل محيانا محياهم ومماتنا مماتهم اللهم انصر من نصرهم واخذل من خذلهم وعجل فرجهم اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات تابع بيننا وبينهم بالخيرات إنك مجيب الدعوات إنك على كل شيء قدير اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد Mu'mineen, I won't take much of your time with the second sermon. We have already passed the halfway stage of the nights and days of Azar this Muharram. And soon the day of Ashura will come and go. But it's essential that we maintain our connection with Sayyid al-Shuhada after these nights and days of mourning and throughout the year. So I'd like to just offer some humble advice as to how we can do that so that this great feeling of closeness and deep love and respect for the great Imam doesn't wane after Ashura has passed. Well, in fact, it's exactly like we recite in one of the du'as of Ziyad Ashura, أَن يَجْعَلَنِي مَعَكُمْ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ, that, oh Allah, enable us to be among Sayyid al-Shuhada in this world and the next. So we want to be with him at all times, in this world and the hereafter. And the question arises, well, how is this possible, that we be with him? Is that even something that is in our abilities? Well, reflect on this example from Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari when he went to do the first ziyarah of Sayyid al-Shuhada on Arba'een. And it is reported that when he got to the sacred grave, he actually calls out and he says that, he refers to the Blessed Prophet and he says that, we participated with you, O Abu Abdullah, in what you encountered. Now, Atiyah al-Awfi, who was his companion on that journey, didn't understand the profundity of this statement. And so he asks him, because obviously physically, Jabir and Atiyah, they weren't with Sayyid al-Shuhada and the great companions and family members in Karbala. Jabir replies by saying that, I swear by the one who sent the Blessed Prophet, that my beloved Prophet said, whosoever loves a people will be raised with them. And whosoever loves a deed of a people will be considered one who has participated with them. So this is giving us an essential formula. We can be with Sayyid al-Shuhada in this world and the next if we have that deep love for him, because then inshallah we'll be raised with him. We are raised with those we love. And we also love what they did, because whoever loves the deed of someone, it's as if they will be rewarded that they have done that deed as well. This is what Jabir meant when he said that he was with Sayyid al-Shuhada. Now, of course, this requires putting that love into action and demonstrating it practically on our tongues and in our actions. It's not simply having heartfelt love, but it needs to be manifested in righteous actions. But at least it tells us that these are the role models we need to follow. Unfortunately, so many times the role models that people follow are people that they see all the time on the television, perhaps, on the internet, and in magazines, celebrities or sports stars or actors and actresses. And so this tells us, well, if that's who you love, if you love that type of action, you better be careful, because according to this statement, you could be raised with them. And so we have to get our priorities right in terms of where our hearts are and who we follow as our role models. Now, there are many things that we can do with regard to this, but one of the very practical advices that we are given from the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam is a very simple thing put forward by our sixth holy Imam, Imam Jafar al-Sadiq, salawatullah wa salamu alayhi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. He says to this person called Sadir that why is it that you don't perform the ziyarah of Imam Hussein 5 times a week or at least once a day? Now this question could be posed to us as well. Sadir responds by saying that, well, my distance to Karbala is so far, right? From Medina to Karbala, how is he supposed to perform the ziyarah of Sayyid al-Shuhada so often? And just like us, we are living in the Western world, and how are we supposed to do that as well? The Imam replies by saying to him that, "O Sadir, you can do this quite easily. Go to the roof of your house," right? In our case, the topmost room, we can say, right? The highest room. He says, look to the right, look to the left, look to the heavens, and then look straight and say, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah, Assalamu alayka wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That's it. And he says, if you do that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will write for you a Hajj and an Umrah. And he says that Sadir goes on to mention that once I had learned that from my great Imam, I used to perform the ziyarah of Sayyid al-Shuhada 20 times a day. Of course, who wouldn't if they're going to get such great rewards of a Hajj and an Umrah, and it takes less than 10 seconds to do. Look right, look left, look to the heavens, look straight. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah, Assalamu alayka wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That's it. And of course, say it with feeling, with sincerity, and inshallah, with the intention that you want to preserve this connection with the great Imam forever, not just for the 10 days of Muharram or the 2 months at the most of Muharram and Safar, but throughout the year, inshallah. Especially, I would recommend it when we need a particular boost for anything that comes up during the day. It could be a problem at work or at school or with a family member, and we're feeling a little bit down and low, and we need a spiritual boost. What better than this? 10 seconds, how long does it take to do something like this, right? And so it's something which will recharge our spiritual batteries, get us aligned once again with Sayyid al-Shuhada, and inshallah we will see how beneficial it is, and it will help us deal with that particular issue. We need a time out, spiritual recharging from time to time, and this is one of the best ways of doing it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with the tawfiq to maintain our connection with Sayyid al-Shuhada throughout the year, inshallah. Inna Allaha wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. بسم الله الرحمن الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله اللهم صل على محمد أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله اللهم صل على محمد أشهد أن عليا ولي الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أشهد أن عليا حجة الله صلى الله عليه وسلم حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله يا محسن قد أتاك المصيبة قد أمرت محسنا أن تجاوز عن المسيء أنت المحسن وأنا المسيء فبحق محمد وآل محمد صل على محمد وآل محمد وتجاوز عن قبيه ما تعلم مني أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله